Hello you, welcome to Geekism. We're going to carry on with our castle build in a moment, but it's the start of the new month, so we've got a few new names to add to the Hall of Patrons. Thank you again so much for your support. It is genuinely humbling that there are people out there willing to support the channel financially. We have quite a few to add this month actually, which is pretty cool. So we're going to start here. I've randomly picked you some guys out. So this is a shooting alien that is now belongs to B-Cups. Thank you very much. We also have a pirate having on the lookout there. This is Christopher, and hopefully that fits off. Oh, we're a little letter short. I'll tell you what, Christopher, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to shorten you to Chris. Let me know if that's a major problem and I'll change it for you. So Chris Hearn goes there. We have a lazy cowboy up here. Oops, excuse me. Which is Rage Jage. Thank you very much. A very active member on the Creativerse server as well. Now this one I'm really sure isn't going to fit on. This is for Lemon the Sodaroo. Oh, I can't quite fit it on. I'll get rid of... I'll tell you what, we'll put Lemon Sodaroo. There we go. Hopefully you're okay with that. Let me know if it's a major problem. And last but not least, joining... I've come out of the building. Joining Dark down here on the naughty step is Dante's Fury. All one word. There we go. Look at that. We're really filling up. I've had to adjust it a little bit, squeeze a few more on. And we've made a third little row here to fill everyone else. I can't believe that we're close to filling it up. There we go. So thank you very much again for your support. Let's head over to our castle build that we're working on, all ready for fireworks. So, a lot of feedback from the last episode, mostly positive, but a few sort of suggestions, and I've took them all on board. I agree with most of them. A few people said that a bit of the colour on the pillar here was quite off, and to get my wife to come and have a look at it. If you don't know, I am quite colourblind, so occasionally some of the colours are a little funky. I have to have the wife come and have a little pass at it, so she's picked some out. But also, I think looking back at them, they're a little bit too over the top, and also sort of easing into the path a little bit too much as well. So we've gone back and tone them down a little bit, both colour wise and sort of actual shape wise as well. So start off by taking all the old ones out, and here's the newer model. It just sort of sits better with the path, looks a little bit more natural. Yeah, much happier with it. And sometimes, you know, one thing I don't like to do in these videos is build a load, then rip it down, and then build a load and rip it down, because it gets really frustrating for you guys watching. But occasionally, I think it's suitable, I think it's acceptable to go back and just have another little pass at something. You know, it doesn't quite look right, and sometimes it takes fresh eyes, you know, you like watching the video and feedback, or also just, you know, me resting a little and coming back to it and going, yeah, it's not quite right. Another suggestion that a couple of people made was that these towers here should probably be a little bit more varied, and I didn't really want to do them varied as in different sort of shapes and styles, but because, you know, it's still meant to be a castle build, it's meant to be sort of very sort of formal and structured, but I thought a little bit of height variation in them would probably be a good idea, so we've gone back and changed the height there a little as well. This is not the final castle, by the way. There's going to be one more video that will be sort of like, you know, like a final pass, detailing, things like that. So this is really sort of like the main structure here today. A little bit of detailing. We start doing some work with windows and things like that, but definitely going to be coming back to it and having one more go. Fine detailing, you know, some more planting, some more you know, sort of wall detailing and things like that as well, and also a few more towers. So this is very much based on a Magic Kingdom castle, although it's not a replica, you know, not a replica, it's not a recreation. But the you know, that's one of the main sort of pieces of sort of concept art I was looking at whilst building it, was the Disney castles. But a few things that I have an issue with Disney castles and didn't want to do here, or one main one really. I know this is something that Silverette spoke about as well, is that the Disney castle, it isn't really a castle, it's a series of towers that just kind of stick together. And that's something I really didn't want to do here. This isn't just a big square box. It isn't a usable castle in any way, and it's still very much sort of like a, collection of towers. But one thing I've really tried to do is make it so that it looks at least a little bit like it could be lived in, like it could be useful, it could be used. So what I mean by that is that there are doorways built in, there are stairs, there are areas that connect one tower to another, and it's just kind of trying to make it a little bit more sort of not realistic, because it really isn't. It's a fantasy castle, but just a little bit more like it could be used and people could go up there and do things up there, as opposed to just a few towers that use a lot of extreme sort of forced perspective. So that's kind of the idea as I was going into the castle here to do. And I think it's worked out quite nicely. Like I say, it still needs more work, it still needs a lot more detailing. There are still a few towers at the back. It only really looks okay from the front at the moment. The back of the castle looks awful, so that's something we're going to have to do, especially once we move into the fairy tale area. But to be honest with you, once the castle's done and we've done our fireworks show, we're going to go back and finish our pirate area, and then we'll come back to the fantasy area next, I think, to start work on. So here you go. Here's an example of sort of creating a usable space, a little bit more of a realistic space here. So we have an actual set of stairs going from one flat area here to another. They're useless, people are never going to be up here, but I definitely wanted sort of like the idea of the fact that this is a usable castle and a usable space. So we have some steps up there, and they come to a doorway there as well. And the other thing I wanted to do here as well is trying to give a bit of a feel to each of the towers and each of the spaces we do as well, as opposed to just sort of like generic towers. Kind of wanted each one to have its own little sort of identity. So we build one building that is similar to like a chapel, so it has the look of a chapel. There's one of the towers that's very much meant to be sort of like a magic tower, where the wizard or the witch would go up to, the good witch would go to cast spells and things like that as well. So I've tried to take a little bit more care in the builds rather than just sort of building towers that look nice. I've tried to sort of give the whole castle meaning and just sort of uses. Even though, like I say, it is still just like a styrofoam structure in the middle of a theme park, but that's really sort of one thing I was very keen to try and tie through the whole build, to be honest. Still loving the game. I hope you appreciate the more Planet Coaster content at the moment. I'm kind of in a bit of a state of flux with the channel, really, at the minute. Well, not a state of flux, I absolutely love making stuff and really enjoying the content, creating the content and enjoying playing games and sharing it with you lot. So I have no problem there. I just, that's the best way to word it. I'm very aware, and it's something that really sits on my mind a lot, is that I don't want to be a Planet Coaster channel. And although I love this game, quite easily my game of the year, most likely game of the decade, genuinely, it's everything I want from a video game. It really is. But I still don't want the channel to be a Planet Coaster channel for a few reasons. One, I love playing other stuff, and I love sharing other stuff with you lot as well. And also, purely from not necessarily a selfish point of view, but from more like a businessy head on me. You see horror stories of channels that were Minecraft channels, for instance, and now sort of Minecraft isn't as popular as it once was, and they really struggled in getting engagement and viewership now with moving on to other games. And it's really sad to see, these channels that have like 1 million subscribers, but they get sort of 3,000 or 4,000 views per video because all their viewers were only there for Minecraft and they all moved on. So. And that's one thing I don't really want, is that, in a year, 2, 3, 4 years, I don't know, when Planet Coaster maybe isn't the new hotness, and there's they've sort of finished releasing expansions or whatever, I don't want it to be difficult to have you move with me to a new game. So, I'm still playing new content, really loving City Skylines, and you seem to be as well. That's the second most popular series on my channel, so I'm glad that you're enjoying that. And then just playing a few other games here and there, like I say, we did a little bit of Castle Story this week. Our Throwback Thursdays we're still doing as well. We did Evil Genius, we're doing Theme Hospital at the moment. There's been an Evil Genius 2 announcement, which is huge. We're totally going to be playing that on the channel, 100%, because it's one of my favourite games of all time. Really looking forward to a sequel. So I'm trying to produce more Planet Coaster content because it seems to be that is what you want to see, and I love making it. You know, it obviously takes a little bit more time than other sort of straight up Let's Plays, but at the moment I'm, you know, feeling relatively creative. I'm able to get in here and actually make stuff. So you know, for now at least, I'm more than happy to make lots of Planet Coaster content, but just I'm always in the background, just a little aware that, you know, I don't want to be a Planet Coaster channel. You know, I want to be able to play lots of different sort of creative simulation games, and I hope you appreciate that and sort of understand where I'm coming from there. So here is we're starting work on the main tower. This is the tallest tower in the park. Yeah, or at least in the castle. I can't imagine anything in the park's going to be much taller than this, to be honest. I like the idea of this Weenie being visible from pretty much anywhere you stand. You're going to be able to turn and see the castle at some point. The main issue I have here is that obviously the tower needs to get thinner as it goes up. There are 3 sets of sort of widths for these pillars, basically. There is the regular wall piece, the sort of 4 metre piece. There is a 2 metre piece that's sort of, you know, you make the tower using 4 pieces. And then there's this really tiny little one as well that we've added on as well. And yeah, it'd be nice to have something maybe slightly in the middle, just because like there you can see that's going from that 4 metre to 2 metres, a little jarring. So we try and use some bits here to sort of fill it out a bit. I think it turns out quite nicely actually, but it's definitely a sort of challenge to kind of get the height difference sorted with these towers. Love these little tower pieces, you know, that you get. These they really cap off some of these areas, and again using the best as we can with force perspective, only using the smaller windows and the smaller doors at the top of these buildings, and then down below we use the larger ones. And you know, sometimes that doesn't apply. Sometimes we use the smaller windows lower down or the bigger windows higher up, but as for the most part we try and keep that idea of everything getting smaller and closer together as it goes higher up as well. Again, these towers need a lot more detailing. We're definitely going to be coming back in there. I'm playing around with the idea of implementing screens into them so that we can have some sort of projector images on them when the fireworks is on. But again, the problem is with the screens is there's no off state other than black. So I did try and mess around with it a little bit off camera. It just means you have really black spaces just stuck on the side of the castle. And so I'm just trying to work a way of integrating them subtly, so that they you know, they look pretty good. We placed a couple of the animatronic knights there, mainly because I can't really think of anywhere else they're going to go, and I want to use them. You know, one of the sort of remits of this park is to try and use everything once. You know, and obviously to keep the sort of areas to the basic themes. So you know, we did pirate, we did western, we did pirate. Now we're doing fantasy, and you know, so definitely want to try and use as much of them all as possible. And I think they actually work out quite nicely there. This building here, just to one side, this is very much the Disney building. You know, there's very much this sort of mansard roof area on the Disney castle, and it kind of just sort of fills the area and gives the sort of castle a centre point really to carry the eye up to the tallest tower there. So quite happy with it. Again, that just doesn't really themes too much. Need to go back there and do some work on the windows on the roofs, and the other thing I wanted to do as well is keep these flags a running theme through the builds as well, and obviously higher up only using the very smallest flags, again just to sort of carry over that idea of the force perspective. There you can see it's starting to take shape. It's a little bit empty on the right hand side there, so we are going to go back and place another pillar there eventually. Here is the space I was telling you about, that's sort of like a chapel sort of theme, you know, sort of royal chapel where the princes and princesses go off to get wed. And we start some light detailing here. Like I say, we are going to have a full detailing pass where we go back over and really add in some, you know, pillars and cornices and all different things like that. But one thing I did want to do is sort of add in some cute little flower boxes here down the bottom. I think they look quite nice, and I quite like the fact that they're sort of a bit more manicured as well. May end up coming back here and sort of bringing the terrain out a little bit and have some slightly more manicured gardens at the front. I'm not too sure yet. Obviously, on the inside, we're most likely going to be doing some sort of manicured gardens as well. So I don't know. Here I've got this nice little sort of balcony area, and we use some white and blue here, white and purple, sorry, just to basically give it a bit of colour, but also sort of tie it in with the sort of purple roofs. Although it ends up being quite a bit brighter than the roofs, I'm okay with it. You know, it's nice painted. I think it turns out quite nice, and again, it just sort of ties in the whole area. Like I say, it breaks up this sort of the grey, orangey walls, and in there. It gives us a bit of colour that we can work with. We actually come back and do a little bit more work here later on as well. But again, just a little bit of work with sort of buttresses and different pieces where they kind of have to go. But again, we're going to be coming back over and doing a lot more with them on the detailing pass later on. So we finish off these here. Sorry, I just heard somebody at the door, but it wasn't. It was me making things up. So we're looking for a little piece here that we can use just to kind of cap off the area. Eventually we take the colour from there-ish, there we go, and copy those over. So hopefully the colours are a little bit more subtle now on the area. Like I said, I had to get the wife to come in and figure those out for me. It isn't something that bothers me in day-to-day life, but occasionally playing these sort of games you do end up doing purple sky or orange trees, that sort of thing. So again, just a little bit of detailing here, tying the areas together. These are pretty much invisible from the ground floor, so this is purely for our benefit when we're sort of going around. I was kind of looking for something to go on that platform there. Ended up not finding anything, I don't think. I placed that there, but don't like it. I think it goes away again in a moment. Just looking for something there that we could use. End up sort of changing my mind about it all. But here's the final tower that we do in this video anyway. Relatively simple one. Again, it's just to kind of balance out the right, I think as you're looking at it, the right side of the tower there, because it was sort of very one-sided, that largest tower. So again, this is a case of just sort of placing one in here that kind of works. And I noticed that it lined up quite nicely with that balcony there, so I thought that'd be a nice idea to have a little sort of hanging bridge that works its way across to the balcony. And again, it's just little things like this that tie it together and, give it a bit more of a sort of, what's the word really? Sort of like a presence, really. It gives it this idea that it could be used, they could use this for storage, I guess, or platforms for fireworks or things like that. Oh, sorry for knocking the microphone. These pieces fit really nicely, these little sort of detail pieces. So we end up taking these off and moving them across there. So in the end, it's all sort of one structure. Again, it's little things like this that I personally think make a bit of a difference between just sort of like random towers and a castle that actually looks like it could be used. But I'm no architecture expert, and I'm very aware that this building is ridiculous architecturally, but it's a fantasy castle in a theme park, so it's going to be a little bit. A lot of people mentioning the fact that a castle is a little bit overdone, I guess, and I noticed posts on Reddit and Facebook as well, not necessarily referencing this build, but just that castles have been overdone. What other things can we do? And yes, they are, but you got to remember that when I started building this park, I always just wanted to build a dead sort of classic Disney style park, big castle in the middle, themed areas all the way around it. I've said it before, I didn't think it would take this long to build this thing at all. I thought this would be finished in about 2 months, and then we'd start part number 2 and part number 3, and we'd be on sort of part number 5 by now. But it turns out it does take a lot longer than I thought it would. So but we're still building based on as the basic game came out. Here's the 4 themes. Build an area with each one, build a castle in the middle. That was always my original idea, you see. So that's kind of my thinking behind the castle. I want this sort of dead traditional park. Maybe if I didn't work for a living, if I wasn't doing sort of 70, 80-hour weeks that I'm doing at the moment, I'd put 2 or 3 videos, 4 or 5 videos out a week of this, and we'd be finished and move on to something else now. But at the moment, unfortunately, we're still here. But I'm loving it, and hopefully you're just appreciating the sort of mindset that I'm going through, the sort of crazy process I'm going through building this castle, even if you may already have seen 3 or 4 castles be built. And like I say, even though it's only a subtle difference, I hope that you appreciate the slight differences I'm doing with sort of trying to tie the areas together and make it look a little bit more like it's actually used. Here is a tower that is completely superfluous. This is completely just aesthetic, but again, this is just the beginnings of sort of filling the whole thing out. We are going to go back and add a few more of these to the rear of the building and to the sides, just to kind of give it lots of depth, lots of height and things like that. I mean, really, if you were looking at the window in the building behind there, you'd be infuriated that this tower was there. But again, some parts of this building have to be purely aesthetic, because it is going to be a big building that you're looking at as the backdrop for our fireworks show. And oh, we do apply some wind. I didn't think we did this in this video. I can't remember if I'd actually done it off camera or not. Not quite happy with it though. I think I might need to have a go back and maybe use the other window. I wanted something a little bit smaller than the other mansard window, but yeah, not too sure. Talking of fireworks, the last thing we're going to do in this video is set up our 2 large screens. I can't remember if I've actually mentioned it on the video or not before. The idea with our fireworks show is it's going to be a story, you know, as much as a fireworks show can be storied, between Princess Amelie and the witch. I'm not sure she has a name. If she does, it doesn't ring a bell. But she's only an animatronic. She doesn't have a character model. But that's going to be the idea here. So the fireworks are going to be kind of split into 3 sections. We're going to have an opening sequence that's just sort of nice and colourful. There's going to be a section based around Amelie, so it's going to be lots of pinks and whites and purples and very girly and dribbly down sparkly bits. There you go. That's a nice phrase, isn't it? Dribbly down sparkly bits. And then there's going to be a 3rd section where the witch comes along, and it's all sort of like green. Somebody pointed out a really good point actually, that Disney always use like lime greens and purples for their bad guys. So we might do that, or we might just go sort of more like traditional red. But either way, it's going to be sort of dark, grim, you know, nasty music, big bangy fireworks, you know. And the screens are going to represent that. We're going to have an Amelie screen and a witch screen. I'm working on some footage outside of the game in After Effects to make that possible. Hopefully that'll be in the next video. We'll be able to start seeing the process. I don't think I'm going to do a time-lapse video of me actually making the fireworks, because I've started messing around with it and done a little bit of test footage, and it's basically me looking at the firework display sequencer menu for 20 minutes. You know, it's not an incredibly interesting video to watch, so probably won't end up doing that. We'll just do one video with the actual fireworks. Anyway, there you go. There's some glamour shots. It's really coming together now. Like I say, one more final pass with some detailing, some final towers, tying the whole build together a little bit more, doing a little bit of work where the people actually enter the castle and leave the castle and things like that. And then we'll do a fireworks show around it. Again, the only reason we've come over here to start building the castle now is so that we've got a nice backdrop for our fireworks show that I really want to get started on soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries or suggestions, pop it down in the comments, and if you fancy a chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at JonTSparrow. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.